Okay, I think that should be more stable. Okay. Even if what I saw wasn't the precise moment of the firearm was discharged, it's almost the same thing. Yes, pointing his gun at the foreign man, he was. That young lad in black. That much I myself did see. Furthermore, visual search of the premises at the time confirmed that we were the only personnel present. Indeed. Alone he was, the Englishman, dining all by himself. Therefore, no one other than the black uniformed cadet could have dispatched the Englishman. Over and out. Testimonies are certainly... Wait, that's nonsense. The victim, Dr. Wilson, wasn't alone at all.
Please, enough of these outbursts already.
But there was a woman. There was a young woman at his table. You must have seen her. Everyone there must have seen her.
Objection! If you call yourself a lawyer, then you will respect the rules of the court and speak accordingly. We are not here to listen to your fantasies. It's evident beyond all reasonable doubt that the victim was alone at the time of the incident. The prosecution has photographic evidence of this fact.
Is this a photographic print of the scene of the crime, Counsel?
Indeed. Of the table at which the victim was dining, taken by an investigator immediately after the incident. As can plainly be seen, there's only one place set.
Certainly. Based on the appearance of this print, it would be reasonable to conclude that the victim was not in the company of anyone else. This doesn't make any sense. The court will add this new photographic evidence to the record. I don't understand. What's going on here? It's just not possible that nobody else saw that woman. Waiter before us did the same thing. He maintains that Dr. Wilson came to the restaurant alone as well. That's not true. I saw her. I swear that I saw a woman with him. It would seem that we'll be able to telegraph the report to Great Britain on time after all. Witnesses' testimonies we have just heard leave no further room for doubt.
These are very sensitive political times. As we all know, the ink is still fresh on the treaty with Great Britain. To think that I, Taketsuchi Ouchi, will have contributed to the amity of these two great empires is an honor.
How can this be happening? The judge is ready to rule. Stand tall, Ryunosuke. It's not over yet. What? If what you say is true, then there's something going on here behind the scenes. Now's your chance to expose it, to draw out the truth in your cross-examination. I don't know, Kazuma. Defense is entitled to cross-examine the witnesses. Make it quick, understood?
Rules can be so unbending at times.
Even if what I saw wasn't the precise moment the firearm was discharged, it's almost the same thing.
Yes!
No, it's not the same thing at all. For a start, I didn't fire that gun. We have a difference of opinion on that. The opinion of a uniformed officer versus that of a fledgling cadet. I don't think so.
Consider this, defendant. Just a moment ago, I blinked.
Did you?
Did you see it? Did you see me blink?
How could I?
And yet, it's an undeniable fact that I did blink. So there you have it.
Have what? Attention! The sound of the firearm rang in my ears, and the very next moment, I saw you waving the gun at that Englishman.
I think that says it all, don't you? And let us not forget that the antiques dealer witnessed the accused in this most incriminating position as well. Isn't that so, Correcta-san?
Also, I'm gonna be that person that points out the name puns immediately. Or not immediately,
Yes!
but... Oh, whoops. I didn't mean to do that. Perfectly reasonable. I should actually read what that says. Well, what about this last statement made by the witness? Seems perfectly reasonable to me. Exactly. Perfectly reasonable in every way. Perhaps you should take a leaf out of the witness's book and learn to be more reasonable yourself. Alright, I just need to calm down and think everything through again from the start. That was a mispress. I meant to go to the, Is it... How do I... Oh, yeah, also, we can look at the, It's cool that they give you a little magnifying glass here. I wanted to look at the profiles.
Yes!
Oh, whoops. Yes, pointing his gun at the foreign man he was. That young lad in black, that much I myself did see. It may be true that I was holding the gun at that point in time. But I've told you already, that's only because I picked it up off the floor.
Well, obviously. As the culprit, that's the way you would explain it away.
I just finished drinking my coffee, and I was about to leave the restaurant when... I noticed a gun on the floor at Dr. Wilson's feet, so I picked it up. And at exactly that moment... a gunshot rang in my ears. Full of evidence beyond our control, life is. Sorry? What do you mean? In your case, you found a pistol on the floor and picked it up, which precipitated this testing predicament. Whereas conversely, I failed to pick up the Koban from the floor and find myself in an equally testing predicament as a result. Anyway, the fact remains. Myself, I did see you. With pistol in hand, standing over the foreigner. Furthermore, visual search of the premises at the time confirmed we were the only personnel present. I would like to look at the profiles, but the game won't let me.
Yes!
Whoops. I must have noticed someone else at Dr. Wilson's table. There was a lady there.
Objection! As you've been at pains to point out time and time again, I feel I'm growing callous in my ear. And yet, no one else appears to have caught even a glimpse of this woman.
Ugh. If only there'd been more people dining there at the time. Then someone else would have noticed her. Unfortunately, it was already past 2 p.m. when it happened. Quiet time between lunch and dinner at any restaurant. There we go, now we can look at him. So yeah, we've got Taketsuchi Ouchi. Yesanosa, as in like yes or no sir. And Curio Correcta, as in Curio Collector. know. Of course the place was almost empty. That's what you'd expect. Certainly, 2 p.m. is neither here nor there in terms of a time to eat. I wonder if there was a reason why the victim was eating at that time of day, and why he was alone.
Yes, Your Excellency. There was indeed a reason.
There was?
This was found in the victim's jacket pocket.
What is that, Counsel?
It's a medical report card, Your Excellency. He got an F. It would seem that the victim had an appointment at a clinic prior to visiting the restaurant.
On a clinic? Oh god. It would indeed appear to be an entry for the date in question. 19th November, noon past 1 p.m. Very day of the incident.
And so, the victim went for a late lunch following his appointment. The explanation couldn't be more simple. The prosecution felt no need to submit this evidence before, as it really has no bearing on the case.
I wonder. What do you think, Ryunosuke? Well, it's hard to see how it could be related, really. Remember, you can request for it to be entered into the court record as evidence if you think it could be useful. Ask for Dr. Wilson's medical report card to be submitted as evidence or not. Ask for it to be submitted.
Yes!
If I may, I'd like to ask for that medical report card to be submitted as evidence, Your Excellency.
On what grounds? The court has already heard the conclusive witness testimony. Additional evidence would be extraneous. Not to mention that the victim's movements prior to his arrival at the restaurant are of no concern.
Objection!
Whether or not they're of concern is up to us to decide. We have a right to explore all possible avenues.
I beg your pardon?
You have no authority to refuse a perfectly valid request for the submission of evidence. Very well. The court will grant the defense's request. Don't mind me peeking my mic with Kazuma's lines.
Youngsters these days are forever asserting their rights. It's a most disturbing trend.
Wow. Officer, kindly add the victim's medical report card to the court record. What we need right now is new clues. We have to explore things from every possible angle, even if they don't seem relevant at first. Right, I hear you.
You can conspire to prolong this trial as much as you like, but it's the day after the festival already for you. Or perhaps you'd forgotten that these witnesses' testimonies leave no room for doubt. Feel free to reiterate for the accused, Correcta-san.
Indeed. Alone he was, the Englishman, dining all by himself.
Yes!
So you actually saw that with your own eyes, did you? Victim, Dr. Wilson, dining alone. That I did. Forgive me for the position I place you in.
It's the testimonies of the old man, the soldier, and the waiter all agree on that point. Isn't that interesting? And let us not forget the incontestable evidence we have to support their statements as well. As can clearly be seen, there's only a single beefsteak on the victim's table, a meal for one.
No. Antique dealer, the sergeant, and the waiter who testified before. It's not impossible, they're all lying. But if so, then why? I'm perfectly honest, I have absolutely no idea. Therefore, no one other than the black uniform cadet could have dispatched the Englishman, over and out.
Yes!
Why aren't you telling the truth? What did you say, cadet? clearly remember. There was a woman sitting across the table from the professor. Perhaps one of you might not have noticed. But for both of you to have failed to see the professor's dining companion, it's just not possible. Fortunately for you, Defendant Arhodo, it's not just a case of these two witnesses alone. Sorry? The waiter, whose testimony the court heard earlier, clearly stated the same thing. He also said that the victim was alone. That's right.
Precisely. In other words, you are the sole proponent of this phantom lady.
But
If such a woman were indeed present at the scene, the prosecution demands to see proof. And if no such proof exists, the prosecution demands that no further mention of this phantom woman be made. It is a blatant waste of the court's time.
there's nothing I can say to that. Yeah. Sorry about that, I spit on my mic. Excellent work, Ryunosuke. Gleaned some new information now. Well, yes, but I don't feel like it changes much. I can't see that it brings any real discrepancies to light. I wouldn't be so sure. Let me see that medical report card you got before. Oh, you mean this? Yes, this brand new piece of evidence. So perhaps we should examine it in a little more detail. How exactly? A piece of evidence, a magnifying glass, these you can examine. Press A and you can take a closer look at the piece in question. Yep. You can rotate evidence. Just like Apollo Justice. Move your cursor to point out things. Press starts to pulse. Yep, you can investigate further. So, partner, I think you should take a closer look at this medical report card. See if there isn't something new to be learned by examining it in more detail. Alright, I'll see what I can do. It says Hata Clinic on this medical report card. I hate clinics, almost as much as I hate hospitals and surgeries. Are they all the same? When I was 5, I caught the only cold I've ever had in my life. And I remember, even though I felt awful already, I had to have this hideous injection in my right arm. Ugh. I'll never forget it. Never in my whole life. Most people would give their right arm to have only had one cold in their whole life. Anyway, I don't think this is a clinic where they treat people for illnesses like that. Let's keep looking for clues. You don't want to miss anything. It's like this medical report card was first issued quite some time ago. It's probably a record of long-term treatment, that's why. The family doctor, I imagine? Well, I can't imagine. Going to a doctor, I mean. As long as I'm alive, I'm never consulting one. If you were dead, there'd be no point. So you don't like doctors, then? Why would you? They make you drink horrible-tasting medicine, they give you painful injections, and then they demand lots of money from you for the privilege. And when you're done, all when you're at your lowest ebb. Sound like a model patient. Bad case of stubbornness, no less. For which the only cure is a very bitter medicine indeed. Let's have a look. Some kind of medical history. Ah, it's an entry for the day the professor was killed. Extraction of molar with topical anesthesia. Extraction of molar. And he had a tooth taken out? It seems so. Just before the incident, he had a bad tooth removed. Perhaps they used laughing gas. That's the most modern practice in the West for pain relief. Yes, I've heard of this anesthesia. I think I'm saying that wrong. I think it's anesthesia. Anastasia is a name. Although it's hard to believe there's anything that can actually stop you feeling pain. Oh, there's a cautionary note from a medical practitioner as well. Strictly no food or drink beside water for 3 hours post-procedure, until anesthetic effects have passed. Really? Sounds like information worth bearing in mind. With this new information, the meaning of that one particular statement totally changes. Though, I think it's time we listen to the testimony again, don't you? Definitely. I love that they render all of the evidence, or most of the evidence in 3D. My personal student number is engraved on the back here. You lose your pin, they won't accept you as a Yume student at the university. You may not come in, they say. Of course, you can get a new pin made if you just tell them your number. I've actually lost mine twice already. But I still don't know my student number by heart. I always say to myself, I mustn't forget to write it down somewhere, but then I forget not to forget that. The symbol of Yume University. Every student wears this pin with pride. It's funny, but most emblems seem to be either round or rectangular. I like the spike design, even though it doesn't really make any sense. Although it does cause problems, lots of students end up cutting their fingers on their badges. Perhaps it was the idea of one of the founders. Sharp pin for a sharp mind or something? Well, that's unexpected. What is? Look, you see it says the witness's name here? Satoru Hosonaga. Well, yes, business cards do tend to show the person's name. That's sort of the point. Not the name that's unexpected. It's his job title. His job? Oh. Chief Inspector Satoru Hosonaga, Primary Criminal Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau. Inspector? What on earth? I have no idea. Let's face it, police have a lot of power and influence. They're wielding it somehow here. Here's this bullet hole in HD. Okay, so... Oh, whoops. Well done, Ryunosuke. You have even more to go on now. I still don't feel like the situation has really changed, though. No discrepancies have come to light, and that's what we need. No, I think the situation has changed a great deal. We've come a long way. How so? Because we have just what we need. It's simply a case of using it to our advantage now. Then, do you mean there is a discrepancy somewhere? Crucial point is, victim had been prohibited from consuming anything but water when he was shot. That fact has not yet been brought to the court's attention. He's right. Thinking about Dr. Wilson's circumstances at the time of the incident puts that particular statement in a totally different light. Always keep your eye on the progress of the battle. That's the only sure way to win. I'm gonna save, because I'm very confident in my answer. Everyone loves a confident save.
Yes!
You saw that with your own eyes, dining alone. Oh. Oh, whoops. There's gonna be a lot more of this playthrough because I'm 100% blind to the last case. And I'm pretty blind to case 4 as well because I don't remember case 4 very well. Oh, wait. It's the dining all by himself statement. He couldn't have been dining. Okay.
Yes!
Well, I think, But what are you whittling, lad? You call yourself a lawyer? I wish I could. First and foremost here, I'm the accused. Ryunosuke. Everyone stumbles on their words occasionally. Under the circumstances, I wouldn't worry about it. Thanks, Kazuma. I could see it quite clearly in that cross-examination you just carried out. You raised your hand straight up like that, so purposefully. You knew exactly what it was you wanted to say. Don't feel like you have to choose your words carefully. Just say what you're thinking. All right. And thanks for the advice. Correct-san. This is a medical report card belonging to the victim. Ah, I see. And I don't see. What of it, boy? Comparing what's written on this report card with your witness statement. Something clearly doesn't add up.
Objection!
Dear me, dear me. Have you forgotten my words so soon, you amateur?
Sorry? What?
You are not to interrupt court proceedings with your amateurish drivel.
But...
Let's see if I can explain this in words you might understand. It was after 2 p.m., in the afternoon, when the victim was murdered at the restaurant. Whatever he may or may not have done before that time is completely irrelevant.
But that's, Remember, Ryunosuke, you don't have to use clever language or fancy words. Just make your point.
Your Excellency, I believe we're finished here. There's surely no need to prolong this trial further. The witness testimonies the court has heard have been clear and concise. This medical report card has no bearing on the matter at all, for the simple reason that there is no one else besides this pale-faced pupil who could possibly have...
This medical report card has nothing to do with the case? Do you really believe that?
What? That outburst half petrified me, boy. Of course I believe it. How could it possibly be relevant?
Perhaps because Hata Clinic, which issued the report card, is a dental clinic.
A dental clinic? Is that supposed to mean something to me?
Perhaps if I told you that the victim had just had a tooth extracted. What is this now? And furthermore, if I told you that as a result, the victim had been forbidden from eating. Just what are you trying to say, Cadet? He had orders not to eat, so what? It's all written up in here. No food or drink other than water for 3 hours post-procedure while anesthesia wears off. Anesthesia. Yeah, I'm gonna trip over that word a lot.
What? No, that can't.
Correct, son. What, boy? What? As you just heard, when he was killed, sometime shortly after 2 p.m., the victim couldn't have been eating anything at all. No. Additionally, there's more. You have assured the court with unwavering self-confidence that the victim was dining alone. But that cannot possibly be the case. Because the victim, as we know now, had just had one of his teeth extracted and was still experiencing the effects of the anesthetic. Expertly done, partner.
Objection!
What? What is this nonsense, you little upstart? These are baseless accusations. Just look at this photographic evidence. You can clearly see the plate of food at the victim's table.
Objection!
Use your head. That's the very discrepancy we're talking about. Or can't you follow the logic?
How dare you?
I think it's fair to say that the tables in this restaurant case have turned. Wouldn't you agree, Ryunosuke? Yes, most definitely. Having just undergone some dental surgery, the victim was unable to eat. Wow, that was a very weird, squeaky voice. Which leaves one very crucial conundrum. Who, in fact, was eating the pictured beefsteak? The court will hear the opinion of the defense on this new puzzle. I assume you're ready, counsel. Counsel? Oh, that means me, doesn't it? Alright, the answer to this question is going to be pivotal. This is the start of your turning this trial around. Show them what you're made of. Got it. So, the person eating the steak at the victim's table must have been an as-yet unknown third party. Obviously, it can only have been someone else who was sitting at the professor's table.
Objection!
You will not let this go, will you? There was no such person.
Yes!
There was, because I saw her. When the incident occurred, we know that the victim couldn't have been eating anything. Yet we have evidence of a half-eaten steak on his table. Therefore, the only logical conclusion is that there was somebody else there eating it.
Yeah.
We have strong evidence to support our assertion. It's clear that these witnesses' testimonies are unreliable. If the court decides to push through a ruling at this stage, we'll lodge a formal complaint with the Ministry of Justice and pursue a fair retrial relentlessly. Kazuma,
Are you insane? You would take on the government?
don't worry, counsel. I have no issue with you.
What do you mean?
I have issue with them, those two witnesses on the stand.
What?
What are you talking about? We have demonstrated with evidence that the victim was not alone. So, if it now turns out that the two of you are deliberately lied when giving your testimonies, obviously, they'll be charged with perjury. I'm sorry, it's so hard to not take perjury as a joke in Ace Attorney after the entire original trilogy. Perjury? And, since this is a murder trial, you'll also be deemed complicit in the killing.
Complicit? In murder? No!
Hold it. Negative. There was no mention of this at the tactical meeting. I was just following orders.
That's right, as the man says. Just say you never saw the gentlewoman.
That's what they, told us. Oh. What? What did you just say, Correcta-san? Oh, no. You were just following orders? Now, hold on, lad. I was, Say you never saw the gentlewoman. Ugh. When you say gentlewoman, do you mean... You saw the victim with a lady from overseas? What?
Objection!
What? What is the meaning of this? These witnesses gave false statements.
Also, while we were on our little technical difficulty break, I did go and get more water.
Is this true, you pair?
Just one simple slip of the tongue. Order. Counsel, explain what's going on here. It's painfully clear now. You tried to prevent these witnesses from telling the truth.
Absolutely not. The prosecution knows nothing of this.
Then who's behind this? Who tried to make you keep your mouth shut? Well, it's classified. So you're prepared to be tried as a conspirator to this murder, are you? You would. This can't be happening. Ryunosuke, judging from the way they're reacting to this, I'd say they were sworn to silence by someone with considerable influence. However, I don't believe Ouchi had any idea about it. What are you saying? I mean, to wield that kind of influence, there are only a handful of possibilities. It only could have been the government, the military, or the police, I suppose. Well, any ideas about who might be behind this? If we can affirm who tried to silence these witnesses, then we can continue our pursuit. So we need to name whoever it was that tried to make the witnesses keep their mouths shut. Of course, we need evidence before we make any firm accusations. Evidence that proves whoever did it really did wield this power, his or her power here. But how? How can we possibly... Remember how we made progress before? We examined this piece of evidence in more detail and found a new clue as a result. Oh, yes, that's right. Well, that's not the only piece of evidence we have, is it? We need to re-examine everything. Make sure there's nothing we've missed. There's no time to lose. I want answers. If it's proven that these witnesses have been manipulated, I assure you the penalty will be severe.
Please, wait. Your Excellency. I had no idea about any of this. I swear to every Shinto god. I knew nothing.
What does the defense have to say about all this, Well, Your Excellency. No time to think. Just gonna have to close my eyes and shout out the first name that comes to my head. Besides the prosecution, the only person with the necessary influence to manipulate the witnesses is...
Yes!
Well, surely that would be Satoru Hosonaga-san. Hosonaga-san? The waiter who took the stand earlier?
Objection!
Poppycock. What possible reason could the waiter have to make these witnesses give false testimony? Not to mention the fact that even a head waiter could not possibly have that level of influence.
For once, I would agree with you. If, that is, the man truly were a waiter.
What? If he truly were?
Come on, Ryunosuke. Time to hit this court with the truth. The truth about Satoru Hosonaga, son's real identity, as proven by this evidence.
Yes!
Plan of the restaurant, sketched by the man in question. I agree it shows a great deal of attention to detail, but I'm not sure we can conclude anything. Sorry, Your Excellency. That's the back of the card. It's the back of the card that's of interest. I beg your pardon? Or perhaps I should have said the front? Yes, it's the front of the back of the card. That's where the telling detail is. Somebody please explain what this overexcited student is trying to say. Hosonaga-san sketched the plan of the restaurant on the reverse side of his business card. The front of that business card reveals the man in question's profession. His true profession. Waiter's profession? That's surely... But, good gracious! That's right, Your Excellency. The card reads, Chief Inspector, Primary Criminal Investigation Division, Imperial Police Bureau.
What? The waiter is a police detective? I haven't heard any mention of this before. Why haven't I heard any mention of this before?
Imperial Police Bureau has immense power. Absolute power as far as regular civilians are concerned. So, witnesses there in the stand. Was it in fact the waiter who gave you your orders? Was it he who told you not to mention that you'd seen this foreign gentlewoman at the scene? Well... Hold it. Inspector Hosonaga? I was worried something like this might happen. The moment you asked me to submit my sketch as evidence, I realized it was a possibility. The court will take this plan and add it to the court record as evidence. Oh, well... Is there a problem? Hand the plan to the court officer at once. Of course. Here you are. Yes, I remember now. He did act strangely when the judge asked him to hand over his business card. I strive to carry out all investigations flawlessly. It is my guiding principle. But I let myself be distracted when I made that sketch. It was an unusually careless mistake.
And so, you mean to say, you really are a detective?
But why would a detective be working as a restaurant waiter? Sorry, give me a second. Oh, of course! Your salary must be terrible! I was working undercover. Undercover? Yes, there have been a series of incidents at the restaurant recently. In order to investigate, I decided to get a job there as a waiter, working undercover. Incidents at the restaurant. What kind of incidents? That's not quite your voice, but... It would be classified police information, which I am not at liberty to divulge. However, I can state categorically that they are unrelated to this case of homicide. Very well then. Inspector Hosonaga, you will elaborate on one point for the court. Of course, Your Excellency. We've just heard new information from the two witnesses beside you. That at the time of the shooting, there was in fact another person present at the victim's table. That is indeed true. Clearly, you would have also been aware of this person's presence, having served at the table in question. However, your testimony did not allude to this other diner. Therefore, I am led to assume that in your professional capacity as a police officer, you required these witnesses to be in agreement. Would that be correct?
Correct, Your Excellency. Unbelievable.
As I suspected.
As soon as I heard the gunshot, I ran out of the kitchen to see what had happened. The victim sat slumped in his chair, and beside him, gun in hand, stood the accused student. Sitting opposite the victim at the same table was a young lady, whom I guessed to be an Englishwoman. So the truth comes out. I immediately sealed off the restaurant, and reported the incident to the Bureau. It was then that I received some special orders. Special orders? You mean to say, remove the Englishwoman from the scene at once? It was made clear that Englishwoman's presence in the restaurant was to be concealed. Those were my orders. But what if this Englishwoman was the killer? I think it would be in everyone's best interests not to pursue that idea. Empire views the friendly terms of its relationship with Britain more highly than anything at the moment. An Englishman has been murdered on our soil. To name an Englishwoman the primary suspect. Well, without irrefutable evidence, that would be completely out of the question. So that's the reason for the disappearance of the Phantom Woman in this case. But it's not right. One possibility does spring to mind. What do you mean, Kazuma? My university is currently hosting a number of exchange students from Great Britain. And I'm fairly certain one of them studying in the medical faculty's research laboratory is a young Englishwoman. What? You're a shrewd man. I can see why you're the chosen candidate for the overseas study tour. You mean, when I removed the woman from the scene of the crime, I thought it prudent to check her identity first. The court demands that you name the lady in question at once, Inspector. The Englishwoman sitting at the university professor's table was a certain Miss Giselle Brett. She's indeed a foreign student, studying in the research laboratory of Yume University's medical facility, or faculty. What is happening here?
I admit that under orders from the police bureau, I erased all evidence of this lady's presence at the scene. I ordered these witnesses to make no mention of her in their testimonies. It must now be up to Your Excellency to decide how to deal with this situation. Very well. My thoughts on the matter are as follows. Thus far, the case presented to the court has been underpinned by a particularly critical premise. Namely, that the victim was dining alone. However, as we have now discovered that this premise is false, it would be a desecration of our justice system to ignore the truth and give a ruling at this point.
Objection!
But Your Excellency, that would mean missing the noon deadline of a ruling in order to send the telegraphic report to Great Britain. Our own government will surely be very displeased by such actions.
Calm yourself, Council. Not allow the government of our country or any other to influence the proceedings of my courtroom.
Yeah.
Inspector Hosonaga? Yes, sir. Locate this Giselle Brett and escort her to the courtroom with utmost urgency. At once, Your Excellency.
But that means you'll be going against the special orders you were given from the police bureau.
As I said before, it is my guiding principle to carry out all investigations flawlessly. So it won't be a problem? Nothing will get in my way. Court will adjourn briefly. Prosecution must call the English student, Giselle Brett, to the witness stand. Do I make myself clear?
Yes. Your Excellency.
Good. Then we'll have a 30-minute recess before reconvening. Fun fact, if I'm not mistaken, on my Sherlock Holmes trivia, Giselle Brett is the person who murders Watson in one of the Sherlock Holmes stories. Excellent work, Ryunosuke. That was superb. My heart was in my mouth the entire time. It's almost unbelievable. I mean, looking at you in there. You're drenched in sweat, your eyes popping, your knees knocking, and you were grinding your teeth. It was a grim sight. Before I knew it, I started finding inconsistencies in the testimonies. I think you might have a natural talent for being a lawyer. Forget it, it's terrifying. If I get through this, I don't ever want to see the inside of a courtroom again. Anyway, looks like we've exposed your phantom lady at last. Miss Giselle Brett, student from Great Britain, is she? That's what I was trying to tell everyone from the start. Dr. Wilson wasn't alone. There was a young woman with him, like I've been saying all along. Yes, you have, haven't you? I might not be overly confident in the courtroom, but my powers of observation are one thing I'm sure of. Why was that loud enough to pick up on my mic? Yes, I can see that. It's about this young gentlewoman. Thanks to our detective friend, she was hastily escorted away from the scene, it seems. Did you see what happened with that? No, I didn't see any of it. I was just on my way out of the restaurant myself, then on the floor next to Dr. Wilson's table. I noticed there was a gun lying on the floor, and just after I bent down and picked it up, I didn't have time to think about where the sound of the gunshot had come from. The waiter ran over to me, looking white as a sheet, and he bundled me in some sort of small pantry next to the kitchen. Best thinking by the detective. He apprehended his suspect without a moment's delay. Yes, but because I was shut in the pantry, I have no idea what happened outside in the dining area. Ah, there you are. Well done, both of you. Professor Mikotoba. Well, seems I was right. The pair of you make an outstanding team. You exceeded my expectations, I have to say. Yes, seems you planned this from the start. You arranged things so that I wouldn't be able to act as a lawyer in this trial. The modern country is still in its infancy. Our justice system even more so. Which is why firmly believe that we need to send our brightest young stars overseas to learn how they can. I wanted to avoid a situation that may have resulted in your study tour to Great Britain being cancelled. Well, it makes no difference. Lawyer or otherwise. If I'm the kind of man who can't help his best friend avert the worst crisis of his life. I shouldn't waste everyone's time by going to study overseas anyway.
What? What are you saying, Kazuma?
So that's your stance. I was afraid you'd feel that way.
Kazuma!
Well then, looks like it all comes down to you, young man.
To me? I'm sorry Mikotoba has had like 5 different voices, but...
Yes, you need to prove your innocence. Undercover that... and uncover what really took place in that restaurant. I must say, I very much want to know the truth. After all, I have a personal connection to this case.
Come to think of it, he said the same thing earlier this morning, didn't he? If you don't mind me asking, Professor, did you know the victim?
Yes, I did. As you're probably aware, Dr. John H. Wilson was a visiting professor at Yume. It was I who invited him.
Oh, I see.
I didn't know that before. Anyway, you're about to go into battle. The victim was a university professor from Great Britain, and a well-known one at that. Naturally, our government is looking to identify and punish the culprit as quickly as possible. Let's not forget who we're up against. A gentlewoman whose involvement our police bureau went to extraordinary lengths to hide. Yes, I'm sure the prosecution will be using every tool at their disposal to quash your case. I have no doubt that you pair will put up a good fight, right to the last. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Now then, I need you to run an errand at the university at once. Something I think we may need.
Of course. Good luck, Kazuma-sama. Gosh, her kimono is so cute. I love it. Defendant Naruhodo, court recess is over. Please make your way back inside the courtroom at once.
It's time. Let's get back to it, partner. Let's get in there and deal a decisive blow. Before those old fossils know what hit them.
Kazuma?
What?
Thank you. Really.
What for?
Well, if you hadn't said you believed in me, then I'm fairly sure I'd already have been found guilty by now.
Look, I have faith in you. As a lawyer, and as a friend.
Coming from you, that means a lot. If I'm found guilty in this trial, he's really going to give up on his dream of studying abroad. That's the kind of true friend he is. So this isn't just my battle anymore. Whoever we're up against, we absolutely cannot afford to lose. Alright then. I'll save the thank yous for after the trial.
You can treat me to one of those sukiyaki meals I like from Yume Cafeteria on University Street. An extra large portion, of course. Court hereby resumes the trial of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Prosecutor Ouchi, managed to subpoena the witness.
Yes, Your Excellency. Against all odds. And thanks to a certain young stripling, the prosecution is now under rather painful scrutiny from the government.
Sorry. The government scrutinize. That's their job. It's nothing to worry about. Don't mind me, I'm just choking again.
It's highly unlikely that the good relations we've forged with Great Britain will emerge from this trial unscathed. Will you still think it's nothing to worry about when the new treaty breaks down and our nation founders?
Again, terribly sorry. The friendship between our nations really is so fragile, and the treaty isn't worth the paper it's written on. You really have nothing to worry about, Ryunosuke.
What do you mean?
The secret trial, anxiety over some foreign government's opinions, bungled investigation, missing witnesses. Is this what our nation's justice system is? Is this the Supreme Court of Japan or of England?
Shut up! Shut up, you jumped-up rookie boy! You and your friend know nothing! Nothing of the situation our nation finds itself in. By aligning ourselves with this great world power, you'll become strong. Diplomacy has never been more critical. Steady political maneuvering is what will secure our futures.
I won't deny that I'm no expert. I'm just a student, and one who could arguably study harder too. But standing here in our Supreme Court, there's one thing that I feel very strongly. A country that fails to uphold the truth in its justice system is a country with no future at all. Well said, Ryunosuke. Despite the wide-eyed look of terror.
You little brats!
Council, this court is the pinnacle of our nation's justice system. It exists solely for the pursuance of truth. That in mind, this trial will now resume, with the next witness taking the stand. Visiting student from Great Britain, Miss Giselle Brett.
Yes. Your Excellency! Well, what a delight it is to welcome such a fine gentlewoman to Japan, and from such a distant land.
Tea. Someone bring English tea. In England, no discussions take place without tea. That true? No idea.
So, could we possibly trouble you to state your name and occupation for the court?
Of course. My name is Satoru Hosonaga. I've been working undercover as the head waiter at La Carnival, but...
Yes, we know all about you already.
Inspector Hosonaga, where are your manners? In England, it's always ladies first. Is that true? No idea. More importantly, a little earlier today you said something to me. You said something to me. You said your powers of observation are one thing you're sure of. Oh, yes, I think I did, didn't I? Yet your description for this amazing sight was simply a woman. Sorry, Ryunosuke, but powers of observation aside, your powers of description are sorely lacking. Guilty.
So, dear lady, once again, if we may trouble you for your name and occupation, please. I'm terribly sorry, dear lady, but... what?
The lady says her name is Giselle Brett. She comes from London, England. She is a visiting research student, currently enrolled in Yuma University's medical faculty.
Oh my, what a rare treat to hear the dulcet tones of the delightful language of the British people. I'm afraid I don't understand a word you said, but it was as beautiful as a hummingbird's song.
As far as I can tell, detective is translating her words faithfully enough. Yes, I agree. You'll obviously do fine in England, Kazuma. Her English doesn't rattle you at all, does it? Or you? You've clearly been paying attention in your English classes, Ryunosuke. Fun fact, if I'm not mistaken, the English in quotation marks text in the Japanese version of the game is actual English text. Court thanks the beautiful young lady for taking the stand. Now, if we may trouble you to confirm something, Miss Brett. 3 days ago, at a restaurant called La Carnival, the grim murder took place. The court has been led to believe that you were dining there with the victim, Dr. Wilson, at the time. Is that correct? She says, yes. This could take some time. So even though she's studying here in Japan, she can't speak any Japanese. She'd like to apologize for disappearing from the scene. She says that she was due to make a presentation at the university, so she had to leave immediately. Interesting. And you're the one who engineered her escape. I was just following special orders from the Bureau.
Well now, dear lady, would you be so kind as to cast your eyes over this photographic print? Look at this dead body. And seeing as you were so unfortunately present at the scene of the crime, could it be that your resplendent eyes caught a sight of this wicked perpetrator, perhaps?
Apparently, it was very frightening. And a sorrowful sight. It was a very frightening and sorrowful sight. You mean to say? Yes. It would appear the lady did witness the crime. Very moment when the accused, standing right there in this courtroom, shot the victim in cold blood. Order in the court.
Did you hear that, Your Excellency? Here we have an absolutely conclusive witness statement.
Well, looks like it's clear now. Clear who our real enemy is. Unfortunately, I will have to ask you to formally testify, if you please. Kindly tell the court the exact nature of this frightening and sorrowful sight you described. I had arranged to meet for a slightly late luncheon with Dr. Wilson that day. The professor was unable to eat, so I ordered for myself only a beefsteak. After a while, the accused came over to greet the professor, and they got into a fierce argument. Then, not long afterwards, the accuser took the professor's gun and shot him right before my eyes. Don't carry a gun myself, so obviously I couldn't have been the culprit. This is a condemning testimony indeed. No, I didn't have any kind of argument with the professor at all.
Objection!
Quiet, you filthy wretch. Look at you, you black-hearted blackguard. And look at this snow-white angel. I'm sure even a dark-minded scoundrel like you can imagine whose words the court is going to believe.
Still making the same mistakes, Ryunosuke? You mustn't blurt out when you're goaded like that. It's a lesson you'll need to learn. but he's so annoying. Of course, I was at the scene as well. I took statements from this lady and the 2 witnesses who testified before, and reported back to the Bureau. It was decided that Miss Brett was not involved, so I let her go. Testimonies of the last 2 witnesses were completely worthless, however. Well, even so. On the day in question, the lady was wearing the same outfit as she is today. As you can see, there's nowhere about her person where she could conceal a firearm. I think she could hide a gun almost anywhere in that outfit if she wanted to.
Unless and until the precise location of where the witness was to have hidden a weapon can be shown, this is moot.
Wow, that is one hell of a sentence. Unless and until the precise location where the witness is to have hidden a weapon can be shown, this is moot. Wow. There are no pockets in my outfit. I have nowhere to hide a gun. Those are the witness's own words on the matter. That's ridiculous. If only I was allowed to lift up her dress, I could prove it. Don't think about doing anything rash, Ryunosuke. I didn't fire the gun I picked up. There must have been another gun there that day. You're right about that. Which means, this lady was hiding a gun somewhere. Yes, that's what we have to prove now. To do so, we'll need to pull her testimony apart. The defense may now cross-examine the witness. Oh, yes, Your Excellency. I'd arranged to meet for a slightly late luncheon with Dr. Wilson that day.
Yes!
After 2 p.m., in fact. That's really quite a late lunch, isn't it?
Objection!
You don't keep up with the latest fashions from Britain, do you? Late luncheons are in vogue. Isn't that right? Or isn't that right? No.
Decisive English no has quite a sting to it. The gentlewoman is currently working in the victim's research laboratory, it seems. So it was apparently a daily occurrence that they would lunch together. But on the day in question, the victim had another appointment at the clinic first. Yes, which we can prove from the medical report card that was submitted as evidence earlier. That's right. Ms. Brett and the victim went to have lunch following the victim's treatment, which is why it was so late. Yes, that all makes perfect sense.
Such wonderful logic. What a shining example of English intelligence this fine gentlewoman is.
So you both arrived at the restaurant. What happened next? The professor was unable to eat, so I ordered for myself only a beefsteak.
Yes!
He was unable to eat, you say? And that was because he just had a tooth removed at Hata Clinic, correct? That's right. You're supposed to actually check with the witness before answering? Was Miss Brett aware of that fact? Seems so, yes. She'd heard the professor was to have some dental treatment. So that would mean that it was you who ate the steak pictured here. Is that right, Miss Brett? That's right, yes. The print you have there shows the table exactly as it was left after the horrifying events. Exactly as it was left.
Dear me, what a harrowing experience. To have traveled to a distant island on the far side of the world, and be embroiled in such a tragic incident. Have no fear, my dear lady. I swear I will crush the evil fiend that has subjected you to this terrible plight.
The victim, Dr. Wilson, had nothing to eat or drink at all. That's right. Other than some carbonated water. Just water? Yes, the professor was unable to eat, but he had been given permission to drink water. It so happens that the diners toasted their lunch with a glass of water each. They each raised a glass of carbonated water. What do you think, Ryunosuke? About the witness's last statement? It's very meaningful. That last statement of yours, Miss Brett, has a profound bearing on this case.
Well, well. How fascinating. Do tell us, what is this profound bearing,
The significance of the statement will become apparent when the time is right. The defense calls for the witness's last statement to be formally added to the testimony.
Well sidestepped, counsel.
Very well, Miss Brett. Kindly repeat what you just said to be added to the official testimony. Gladly, she said. That was brilliant, Kazuma. I'm gonna remember that one. Which one? Significance will become apparent when the time is right. You can really use that phrase. I'd hope there are some more useful tips you're picking up from this experience than that, Ryunosuke. I ordered beefsteak for myself, and the professor and I said cheers over a glass of carbonated water. There is only one glass on the thing here, right? Yeah.
Yes!
That's it! Just let me confirm something, please. It's to do with this photographic print. It's just a short while ago, you spoke of this print showing the victim's table at the crime scene. That it was exactly as it was left. That is correct, the lady says. Well, it's odd. Very odd.
Dear me, what's odd is the defense's inability to express itself.
Inosuke, what is it about the print that looks so odd to you? Well, obviously, it's the cheers.
The cheers?
Miss Brett just told us that she and the professor said cheers over a glass of water. But if that's true, there should be 2 glasses on the table, not 1. Maybe they kissed. You're quite right, Counsel. There's only 1 glass pictured here.
Objection!
Are we supposed to be impressed by this nitpicking over him?
Wow.
Are we supposed to be impressed by this nitpicking over minutia? What possible difference does the presence or absence of a glass make on the case?
Objection!
Minutia, you say? It'd be that the detective here removed a glass from the table to conceal the lady's presence. Of course not. I would never do something so reckless. But there should have been 2 glasses on the table. Or are you going to try to tell me you can clink with only 1? The secret is that Giselle was drinking it straight out of the bottle. You're quite right. I certainly took 2 glasses to the table. It's written in doctor's scrawl. Inspector, what did the lady say? It would seem that it was Miss Brett who took the glass from the table. What? It was all so terrifying, everything that happened. I panicked and I thought I should try to hide the fact that I'd been there at all, she's saying. Good gracious.
Sorry. There. As I assured the court before, this is of no consequence at all.
Oh, please. Wow, that was not Ryunosuke's voice, but I have no clue whose voice that was.
We must remember that this student had just murdered this lady's luncheon companion before her very eyes. Who could blame her for concealing a glass or two in her state of disarray?
That's absurd. That's still a crime.
No, really. So do we take it that you're now going to accuse this vulnerable, young and beautiful woman of mischief?
What? Gosh, freaking Ouchie is white knighting so hard. No, no, no. This can't be put down to mischief. Like to know exactly how the lady took the glass from the scene. It would seem that she slipped it into a small handbag she was carrying. A handbag, you say? Yes, Your Excellency. A small handheld pouch commonly carried by well-to-do women in England.
So, the beautiful lady has very graciously explained how and why she removed the glass from the scene now. However, the fact remains that this glass has absolutely no bearing on the case. This student has been trying to confuse the court with logical reasoning, but in the end, it comes to nothing. Damn you, Ryunosuke, you're trying to fool me with your facts and logic. No more pretentious accusations. You've wasted enough time already.
Indeed, the lady has offered a satisfactory explanation as to why she removed this glass. I think henceforth we can consider the matter to have no bearing on the case. Counts for the defense, are you in agreement? Well, I don't know really. You want to pursue this matter further, you're gonna need to show that it has some deeper significance. Yes, you're right. So she took the glass away in her handbag. If there's a deeper significance to there, it's the handbag, because she could have put a gun in it. Wait, the lady put the glass in her handbag, you say?
Yes, do try to keep up. It's already been explained to the court that all English gentlewomen carry handbags for small items.
Let me see. A little while ago, Miss Brett stated the following. There are no pockets in my outfit. I have nowhere to hide a gun. But what she forgot to mention was her handbag, in which it would be perfectly possible to conceal a gun. All right. Well done, partner. I had a feeling you'd pick up on that too.
What are you insinuating, you vile blackguard?
It's really very simple. Gunshot was heard when the defendant picked up the gun from the restaurant floor. As he didn't fire that gun, we can deduce that there must have been another firearm on the scene. True murder weapon, if you will.
You can't seriously be suggesting.
Inspector Hosonaga. Yes? Did you or did you not search Miss Giselle Brett's handbag on the day of the murder? No, sir, I did not. As I thought. In other words, another gun, the one that was actually used to kill the professor, could have been hidden in Miss Brett's handbag.
No!
Order, order, order.
What is the meaning of this, Inspector?
The meaning of what, Prosecutor Ouchie?
Why on earth did you not have the lady open her handbag and show you the contents at that time? Thanks to your bungling incompetence, now she has to endure these uncomfortable accusations.
Brilliant work, partner. Now we have a chance to expose the real woman behind the mask. Do you think so, Kazuma? Well, what a sorry situation. Clearly you have no faith in the police. As I said, I did not search the lady's handbag after the shooting. Simply because it was unnecessary.
Unnecessary in what way?
Let's thank the student lawyer, really? I have a piece of evidence here that I'd completely forgotten about. This photographic print. This print is of a photograph that I thought it would be prudent to take immediately after the shooting. As you can see, it clearly shows Miss Brett's handbag. Well, I'd never. You can see right through to what's inside. That's right. Apparently, meshwork bags like these are the height of fashion in London at the moment. I'm sorry that Hosonaga has had 12 different voices. So the contents are clearly visible. Exactly. So there was no need to search the lady's handbag. If there had been a gun inside, it would have been immediately obvious. As you can see, there's nothing to imply Miss Brett's guilt here. Thank you for helping prove that, Naruhodo-san. Order, order! Inspector Hosonaga, submit that print as evidence at once. Certainly, Your Excellency. I think you've had long enough to cross-examine the witness, Counsel. Court has now been shown considerable evidence. As the photographic print just submitted into the court record appears to have no further significance, satisfied that there is no longer any room for doubt in this matter, and I must make my ruling.
Indeed, and there's only one logical conclusion. That pathetic rookie slumped over the bench before us is the only possible perpetrator for this crime.
No. Just when I thought I was beginning to turn things around, I'm in a worse situation than I was at the start. Kazuma? I'm sorry, Ryunosuke. Now that the cross-examination of the witness is over, there's no way to force the trial to continue. What? You mean this is it?
I must say, you put up quite a fight for a rookie student. But the weak are meat while the strong eat. You were wasting your time. There's no way to defeat true justice. A fact you can chew on to your heart's content from the inside of your cell.
This can't be happening. Am I really going to be found guilty of a crime that I didn't commit? And Kazuma. His dream of going to study in Great Britain will slip through his fingers. Kazuma. What? Is there really no chance now of turning this trial around? You heard the judge. There's nothing about that last photograph the detective produced that we can contest. Which means there's no basis on which we can argue for the trial to continue. Very well. I will now proceed immediately to the ruling.
It seems we'll be able to report to the British government on time after all.
Smug little... Forget it, Kazuma's ready to cut Ouchie in half. Wait, Your Excellency, Inosuke Naruhodo, having considered all the evidence placed before me, I hereby find you... Wait, Your Excellency. Inosuke? I don't think you can rule on this case yet.
Objection!
This amateurness is getting tedious.
Or amateurishness.
When His Excellency deems that the trial is over, he gives his ruling. That is the most basic protocol of the courtroom.
Yes!
Your Excellency, just a moment ago you said this. As the photographic print just submitted appears to have no further significance, there's no longer any room for doubt in this matter, and I must make my ruling. Now that means if there was a problem with the evidence, some significant detail, I mean, then ruling on the case at this time would be out of the question.
Objection!
This is blatant straw clutching. Look at this photographic print. All it shows is the handbag the gentlewoman was carrying on the day in question. There can be no problem with this evidence.
Better know what you're doing, Ryunosuke. I understand your objection, counsel. Certainly, the new evidence submitted by the detective has not undergone the court's scrutiny. However, I fail to see how we can glean any new information from this handbag.
Ha! My thoughts exactly. Really, the prosecution is becoming tired of this rookie's desperate wheezes.
Yes, I am desperate, but this isn't a wheeze. There's something about this photograph which just doesn't seem right. Only I could put my finger on it. Very well. Grant the defense one final opportunity.
What?
But be warned, if I am unsatisfied by your response here, the trial will be over with immediate effect. Do I make myself clear? Yes, Your Excellency. Take another look at the photographic print Inspector Hosonaga submitted before. We'll identify for the court where in this print we see the significant detail to which you have alluded.
Yes!
Look at this, here. There's a very unusual mark on the victim's wrist. That is true. Looks almost like a burn of some description.
Objection!
Dear me, I was pondering what new piffle you would come out with. A burn, you say, on the victim's wrist. Clearly that has nothing whatsoever to do with the magnificent lady's handbag.
Yes, that is a burn mark. You're right. On, Inspector. The police coroner also noticed it when he was performing the post-mortem examination. It was deemed unrelated to the cause of death, so he didn't note it in his report.
What did I tell you? In any case, we have no idea when the victim suffered this burn, do we? And no possible way of knowing either. The more I look at it, the more
I look at it, the more I find myself intrigued by the curious shape of this mark. However, as Prosecutor Ouchie puts it, unless a firm connection to the case can be shown, I cannot allow any further time to be spent on the precise details of this burn. Excuse me, Your Excellency. It would seem that Miss Brett has a lunch appointment with the Dean and other university staff. She would like to know if she may be excused from the stand now.
Oh, of course, dear lady. We shan't hold you up any longer. I'm quite sure His Excellency is about to give his final ruling anyway.
What's your thinking on this, Ryunosuke? Do you believe this burn does have something to do with the case? To be honest, I'm not really sure. But if I don't keep pushing, then it's all over. So I was thinking that I should keep digging and digging, in the hopes that I might uncover something useful. Yes, you're right. I am? We can just link that burn to the case. If we can do that, we might be able to prise this shutting door back open again.
Just give up, Council. You can't possibly hope to do that.
Indeed. I'm afraid that without evidence, I can't allow you to pursue what is little more than conjecture. But if we had evidence that irrefutably linked the burn on the victim's wrist to the case, then you would allow it? I would, yes. To tell the truth, I hadn't noticed that burn. But as soon as you pointed it out... what I did notice was the color draining from Miss Brett's face.
Really?
I have to find some link between that burn and the case. This is the moment of truth. It's time to find some evidence that proves what that burn really means. Well then, the defense will now present its evidence to the court. Evidence that demonstrates an inextricable connection between the victim's burn and this trial. It's the little cow imprint on the hot plate for the steak there. I remember this very specifically because I got stuck on this when I played through this case casually.
Yes!
What's this, Council? Yet another print? Yes, Your Excellency. I believe photographic prints are an amazing invention. When we humans look at a scene, we miss things. But in a photograph, things we may have overlooked at the time are recorded forevermore.
Do hurry up, rookie. What are you trying to say? To inconvenience this poor lady any further really would be quite inexcusable.
Actually, we may need you to stay with us a little longer, if you don't mind, Miss Brett. You see, it's very clearly visible in this other photograph. How did the victim come to have that unusually shaped burn on his wrist? The reason is recorded here forevermore. What? How?
Objection!
You can't fool me with your little bluffs, boy. If that's your game, then let's see how it plays out, and show the court exactly what you mean. What is it in this photograph that explains the reason for the victim's burn?
Yes!
The beefsteak?
Actually, the point is the metal plate the steak was served on. Plate?
Your Excellency, are you alright?
As you can see, there's an emblem on the plate. I would guess it's some sort of trademark of La Carnival. This emblem on the plate and the victim's burn are exactly the same shape.
Yeah.
Inosuke, you genius! You're spot on. Which means the victim must have suffered this burn while he was present at the restaurant.
Objection!
But even if that is the case, we can't know if it happened on the day in question or not. It could have been the day before, or the day before that. It most likely happened at some other unrelated time.
Well,
Objection!
sadly, Prosecutor Ouchie, the chances of that are extremely slim. Thanks.
Why?
The outline of the burn is clearly discernible. Such a serious injury would have caused quite a commotion in the restaurant. Wouldn't you agree, Inspector Hosonaga? can't imagine having missed such a terrible disaster, certainly.
But...
I would say, looking at the picture of the wound, that it wasn't suffered very long ago. And although it's not a particularly large burn, it's extremely well defined, as the defense just pointed out. This was no mild burn, that's for sure. Can you be more specific, Inspector? Well, let's see. If the plate was at around 90 degrees centigrade, a burn like that would have taken around 3 seconds. It's inconceivable. The victim wouldn't have let out a scream of pain then. I've been investigating at the restaurant for several weeks already, but I've not heard anyone scream at all. As the head waiter of La Carnival, I can testify to that without hesitation.
But you're a detective, not a waiter.
Yes!
There you have it. Something isn't right here. As the detective said, anyone who burnt themselves on a piping hot plate for 3 whole seconds would scream in pain. There's no question of that. Yet Inspector Hosonaga never heard the professor scream. Not on that day or any before it. That's right. And the strange thing is, on the day he was shot, I didn't hear him cry out either. What are you suggesting? Well, if the professor had carelessly laid his wrist on the plate for anything like 3 seconds that day, that would be beyond careless, I think, Counsel. And the rest of us in the restaurant, myself, the sergeant, and the old antique dealer, all of us would, without question, have heard him scream. Wouldn't you agree, Prosecutor Ouchie?
Well, yes, I suppose.
So the question is, why didn't a single person hear Dr. Wilson scream? I almost don't believe it. Ryunosuke, do you think... Can it really be true? I never dreamt we'd arrive at a conclusion like this, but... I'm starting to think that maybe... we've been led into a terrible trap. There's only one explanation I can think of that makes sense of this apparent impossibility. On the day in question, when he suffered the burn to his wrist, Dr. Wilson was already dead. No man could remain silent while his wrist was burning on a piping hot plate for 3 whole seconds. That's clearly impossible, apart from in one particular situation. Counsel, are you suggesting? You know, Ace Attorney logic is so far out there that casually, I genuinely thought that one of these characters was gonna pull the "oh, he was on anesthesia, he wouldn't feel the pain" card, which is bullshit, and it doesn't work in any context, but Ace Attorney logic tends to be very fast and loose with the rules. Yes, it's only possible if the man was already dead.
Already?
Dead? Knowing what we know now, it's the only possible explanation. When the beefsteak was brought to Dr. Wilson's table that day, the professor was already dead.
That's madness!
Order, please. Counsel, explain this absurd notion at once. The victim was killed by a gunshot.
That's right. That's absolutely right, Your Excellency. This is just another ridiculous ploy by the rookie student, but clearly he has no grasp of the facts.
Objection!
No, Prosecutor Ouchie. It's you who has no grasp of the facts.
I beg your pardon.
As soon as it became apparent that the victim had suffered that burn while at the restaurant, the This whole case was turned upside down. Or have you not grasped that yet? Hey Sachi, how are you doing?
Yeah.
Your Excellency, the court must hear from this witness again. Just got home from a concert? Nice. If it's true, as we now believe, that the victim was already, if it's true, as we now believe, that the victim was already dead before the gunshot was heard, it's highly likely that Miss Brett knows something about it. You're about to sleep. I'm getting ready to end, like, I'm probably gonna end when I find a decent stopping point here, just because it's already past my normal end time. Incredible. I certainly didn't anticipate this twist of events. Especially not for a first case. I'm sorry to say, Miss Brett, but you will have to forget your luncheon engagement.
But, Your Excellency.
It's midnight for you rather than 10:30. Oof. Justice system in our country may be in its infancy. But rest assured, all reasonable doubt must be dispelled before I am prepared to pass judgment. Thank you, Your Excellency. What was that smile?
Yes, of course. I mean, I'd be delighted to help. Especially if it helps relations between my country and yours. Miss Brett, you speak Japanese? Well, of course I do. I am studying in your country after all.
But then, why have you been speaking through an interpreter until now?
My mother tongue, the Queen's English, is the most refined and elegant language in the world. As a gentlewoman, I try to avoid speaking in your vulgar tones as much as possible. But it seems the men in this land possess none of the chivalrous virtues of English gentlemen. And so I can see that I shall have to lower myself to communicating with you all on your own level. Oh, well, you are the epitome of a true English gentlewoman. We are truly honored by this lavish consideration you so graciously afford us.
I see. In that case, Miss Brett, I will now ask you to testify in your own words about the events leading up to the death of the victim, Dr. Wilson. So, we're finally going to hear her own words on the matter. Things are getting interesting, Ryunosuke. Oh, the cross-examination theme. I love this cross-examination theme. Chef's kiss, like, perfect. And unfortunately... that is where I have to end. Whoops. Oh, I didn't mean to press home, I meant to press A. But my brain was like, yes, you're done with the game, press home. But yeah, give me a sec, and we'll find someone to raid. Exclamation point Discord if you want to join the Discord. Exclamation point socials if you want to check out the VODs channel. Where I have basically every stream I've ever done. I've got the original trilogy of Ace Attorney on there. I've got other visual novels. Or my Blue Sky, where I post my art, primarily. And, I may or may not be working on some Ace Attorney art right now. It's definitely not going to be the next thing I post. That's more Fire Emblem art, but... anyway. Give me a sec, and we'll find someone to raid. Let's raid Luna. It is not loot with a big hat, though I am very quickly going to write that down. Small first at the end of stream. So yeah, thank you all so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed. And I hope to see you tomorrow. Hopefully, unless Spoods and Jimbles are able to do more Calamity or something. Unless that happens, I should be continuing this tomorrow. So, I guess have a good one, and take care.